holds, looks now, Camp goes to the bench. Biehner comes out and cuts in front of the net and scores! Holy mackerel, what a move! Mitch Biehner undresses two Rangers, cuts across the goal crease, and outweights Shesterkin to win the game. 19 seconds into overtime.
Hi, this is Mike Ross, public address announcer for your Toronto Maple Leafs, and this is the Leafs Late Night Podcast, your post-game destination. And now, your starting lineup: Roscoe, the Fanalyst, Southey, Biehner, and Darty Brodeur on the Leafs Late Night Podcast.
Woo! What a finish. What a game. We are back. This is Leafs Late Night. This is Steph the Fanalyst. I am joined with our friend Biehner. Biehner, how are you tonight?
Oh, a lot better now that Mitch finally decided to show his skill in the rugby.
Right? How good does it feel to end this in overtime on the first shift, especially, right?
Yeah, so good. And it was one of those kind of lackadaisical games for quite a bit of it. Like they were in it, they had a bunch of chances, and then everybody kind of laid back. And then the last, 5 minutes at least of the third, they really picked it up to try to tie it, thankfully. And here we are.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I sent out a tweet on the Leafs' first power play saying that they were buzzing. The boys were buzzing. The first period looked solid, and then the game kind of went a little downhill. I don't know what was going on, but we knew it was going to be a challenge, right? Facing the New York Rangers for the second time this season. Last meeting, we dropped the game 3-1. So hoping to tie up the season series, of course, against Vezina, past winner Shesterkin, of course. But hey, Leafs were able to bounce back, come on top, and it feels so good.
Yeah, especially against a talent like Shesterkin. Like they showed it on the broadcast there. His stats in his first 4 seasons, his save percentage is right up there in the top 5 all time with 4 other Hall of Famers in Jacques Plante, Esposito, Glenn Hall, and Ken Dryden. Like the guy has played out of his mind since he came into the league, even better than Vasilevsky for Vasilevsky's first couple of years, and everybody's thinking he's the best goalie they've ever seen, right? So anytime you can get more than one really on Shesterkin, you should be happy. So the boys gave it their all, and they got it done tonight.
Yeah, and speaking of getting it done, I mean, last game, Keefe kind of juggled up the line starting the second period, trusted his gut starting this game, our top 6 in their same positions. Marner and Matthews reunited once again, JT and Nylander, because they had that spark. I saw something on the broadcast that said, Toronto had 46 different line combinations so far this season compared to the Rangers' 50. That's just crazy to see a stat like that.
Yeah, you can get kind of lulled into complacency, right, when you have something that works. Like even Keefe had said previously with the Matthews and Nylander line, he didn't think he was going to keep it for as long as he did because we've mentioned it many times on our podcast over the year that if you're using the same thing all the time, then once someone can solve it and does solve it, then you're euchred, right? You try to change it up, but guys haven't played together all year, so it takes a lot longer to build up that chemistry. So if you're constantly changing it, it's just going to help you in the long run.
Speaking of getting euchred in a sense, the last time we faced the Rangers, they actually ended Mitch Marner's point streak. Oh, it hurts to say, right? So they're definitely a team who can, do their studying and see what the opposition has to bring. And tonight, they had one player in the lineup who made his NHL debut, Will Cooley, who's from Toronto, I was actually surprised to see that nothing happened with his name on it beside, I don't know, a hit or a shot there, or sorry, 4 hits now that I'm looking at it. But it seems like these teams always have a Leaf killer. And on this team, his name happens to be Philip Hedl. Oh.
Yeah. Well, there's been many of them over the years, even for the Rangers, but Hedl has really been on a heater against the Leafs. Like he's a good young player, right? They had that kid line in the playoffs last year with him and Kakko and Lafreniere, or Laffer in question mark. I don't know if you saw those tweets about the Jumbotron in Scotiabank Arena. That's pretty funny.
Oh man, what a screw up.
Nobody.
Anyways, continue.
He pulled the old what was it, like NHL 04 when you could do that right off the face off and just bury it like that. Like he was on fire. Yeah. But I don't know if you caught it in the interview. They interviewed Sammy after the game, and Sammy compared it to, you play the lottery. Sometimes you get lucky. He got 2 goals.
Okay. I actually missed that interview. I caught the other ones, but my favorite interview of all time, I don't know, I love watching Samsonov. He's just so genuine, and like he doesn't hold back, right? And his English is really great. Like it's not like listening to maybe, I'm trying to think of a player, even Ilya Mikheyev, when he first came to the NHL, his English was pretty horrible. But Samsonov, man, he can get his point across, and he becomes a character by doing so.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's nice to have a couple sound bites like that are like uplifting and humorous. Not that we haven't had that before. Like Campbell was, for the most part, he was a pretty positive guy, but at the same time, he had his moments where when he wasn't playing that well, he was a little down. So it's nice to have something just completely different, especially for a market like Toronto.
Definitely. And speaking of mic'd up in markets, I don't know about you, but I was really pissed tonight when we did not get any clips on our Sportsnet feed of Matthews, because he was mic'd up for the TNT broadcast. I read a couple articles out there just I guess signifying that since it's filmed in Toronto, broadcasted in Toronto, the Sportsnet would have rights over taking their clips. And I don't know. I don't know the rules, okay? And clearly it did not work that way tonight. We got the clip from Barclay Goodrow, who made it wasn't even funny, okay? I was just more pissed off that we didn't get anything from the Matthews show.
Well, of course not. And for all the nights for Southey and Johnny not to be here, because if anybody knows anything about broadcasting in our group, it'd probably be those two.
Yeah.
Shout out to Southey, by the way. We miss you, buddy. You haven't been on in a while.
Yeah.
And obviously Roscoe. But no, I heard they were going to be mic'd up, and it was pretty much a given that we weren't going to get much of anything, if anything at all, because that's the way it's happened in the past. I don't know if Sportsnet isn't willing to pay the money, because I'm sure they would have to give some sort of a payment to TNT for that. And it definitely wouldn't surprise me, considering who owns Sportsnet, that they would be too cheap to pay for it.
Well, they sound like they'd rather, guide their viewers to purchasing a VPN or some sort of method to get the clips than pay them big bucks and give the viewerships to the fan, like it would work out in their favor if they actually just provided. Because tonight on Twitter anyways, I saw lots of complaints about the panel, about just the overall broadcast. And all I had running through my mind was, last year we got the Austin Matthews infamous jaw dropped meme from one of the nights that he was mic'd up after a Spezza snipe during a LA Kings game. And then another time, Arizona game, he was mic'd up. And remember, he was like, "Oh my God, that was so nasty," or the infamous, "I love you, Johnny," like right after the goal. So
yep.
I feel like we were robbed of that experience.
Yeah, I don't know. There might be something with like liability issues because, you know, it's harder to control what's being said unless I guess you're not really playing it live. But I'm not well versed in that kind of thing, but I know anything involving the media giants in Canada is always just the absolute worst for the consumer.
Yeah. Oh, guys, get on board. Okay. I'm sick of this shit. But anyways, we're fortunate to be, you know, closer to the GTA to get the broadcast rates here. Sorry, Johnny Southey. Miss you, Darty, as well. And yeah, miss you, Johnny. These guys are working, okay? If you're wondering why it's just the two of us guys, it's because they're making big money right now. I'm just kidding. But first period, well, let's just jump into it. Just to start off the game, another thing to note, excuse me, no anthem singer. Big snowstorm in the GTA today. We don't know what happened, but honestly, saw some complaints on Twitter as well. I just got to put it out there. Jimmy Holmstrom, who is the Leafs organist, has been doing this gig since 1988. And he is a follower of the Leafs Late Night account on Instagram. I'm very, very proud to announce this, okay? So just let me have one.
Yeah, they were calling for a storm, and I don't know about you, but anytime they've called for Snowmageddon or the big storm over the last 6 months, year, anytime they've called it, we've got next to nothing. So I was kind of expecting more of the same, and for most of the day, that's what it was. And wasn't until probably about 2:00 that it started coming down here, and it still has not let up. My wife's gone out and she shoveled the driveway before I got home because she was home already, and I'm going to have to go and shovel it again when we're done here.
Yeah, me too. So if I'm dragging this pod, I apologize. Yeah, same deal here. We're on the opposite ends, you know, the spectrum of Toronto, sorry. You're on the way west side, near closer to London. I'm on the east end in Durham region, and it's the same deal. So I'm thinking about everyone who got stuck in that today. But yeah, tonight, you know, the Leafs started on time. First shot on net. Love to see it. Absolutely goes in, especially from our fourth line, right? A lot of talk with especially Kerfoot moving down to the fourth line. We had Joey Anderson drawing into the lineup for the first time since December 27th, and Connor Timmins out and bringing Jordy Ben in. Whoops. So, what a backhand.
Yeah, that was absolutely beautiful. There's a lot of talk of Holmberg and Anderson and Czar kind of alternating in and out to keep everybody fresh because of the potential of a deal involving one of or both of Kerfoot and Engvall, right, to help clear cap space if you wanted to make that push and do a big splash at the deadline. So it's nice to see that even if it doesn't happen, they're being prepared, right? They're making sure that no one's sitting around being cold and having to be thrown into the fire at the worst possible time and not have played in months. They're keeping everybody fresh, getting everybody lots of reps, and it's creating a good, healthy competition in the bottom of the lineup.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't know, they spoke on the broadcast during intermission there that maybe Keefe is looking for some extra scoring, especially since Joey Anderson has been doing extremely well with the Toronto Marlies, right? And Chris Hurley on Twitter actually pointed out, if you notice their ice time between the fourth line and the third line, maybe it could be a possibility that, you know, Keefe is going to try and use a 3A and 3B situation compared to the traditional fourth line. But as the game progressed, I see why that didn't happen, so to speak. Just looking at the ice times now, we had Bobby McMahon, 10:33, Holmberg, 6:31, Anderson, 4:57, and I guess Kerfoot was moving around there. But interesting situation. What do you think about that, being doing like a 3A and 3B? One focusing on the offensive side, one focusing on the defensive side of things.
They've almost kind of been doing that with their first and second line for the past couple of years, right? Like,
Yeah.
as much as you want to say whatever line Matthews is on is the first line, there's nights where he doesn't have it, offensively at least. So they've really got a 1A and a 1B. So if they wanted to do the same thing on the bottom six with a 3A and a 3B, it's in essence, it's almost perfect, because then it doesn't matter who's out there. You can cycle the top six as a unit, and you can cycle the bottom six as a unit, and you won't have that awkwardness of, if Camp's out there and McMahon goes off and Kerfoot comes on. Well, he's not going to be thinking in the back of his head, oh crap, we're doing a line change. Maybe I need to get out of here right now. It's, hey, this is still our six. Let's continue cycling through and working this as a unit and see if we can build something here. So if you can get a top six that you like and a bottom six that you like, that's, in my opinion, that's the ideal circumstance that will just benefit us come playoff time.
Absolutely. Totally agree. All we have burning in the back of our minds are the Nick Pauls of Tampa Bay and the bottom six forwards who just cut the throats of the Leafs to, I guess, push them over the edge. And that's exactly what we need. And let's just jump to one question here since we're on the topic of Holmberg. Zapper at VI Blue and White on Twitter asks, with Holmberg continuing to impress, are you as curious as am I to see him play at 3C with some offensive talent around him? Nothing against Kampf. I just see a much higher offensive ceiling to Holmberg than Kampf.
There definitely is that. Kampf was brought in as a shutdown guy. Like I can't remember how long it took for him to get his first goal as a Leaf, but basically once he did that, he almost tied what he had his entire career with the Blackhawks. Like, the guy's not an offensive juggernaut at all. But defensively, he's ridiculously reliable. He is the guy you want out there to shut things down. So he's still very valuable to the team. With Holmberg, if you can get him comfortable enough to be able to handle those minutes, and like we were just saying, if it ends up being a 3A, 3B, that's probably ideal, because then you can shelter him a little bit. You can give him more of the offensive zone starts rather than the defensive zone to help build him up so that he is in that role and comfortable being in that role. Because I completely agree. He does have a higher offensive upside than Kampf does. And he's showing the little bit of grit that he can handle, the tougher guys in the NHL, and he's definitely got the speed and the skill to do it. So it's early days still, but it's definitely very promising.
I totally agree. Kampf is our calm and steady defensive forward from our bottom six. That center that's super reliable. Clearly, Keefe puts him out there to start the OT. Like, these types of situations, he's not a scorer, but he can get the puck to the next guy. And I love how Pontus Holmberg drives the play. He's not afraid to take the shot, use his body. He looks like he's been playing in the NHL for 3 years at least. He does not look like, someone new to the league whatsoever, in my opinion anyways. And, when Kampf scores, it's such a nice touch. Like, it just makes me so happy inside because it's like David Kampf, the king of every other stat except, scoring and the offensive side of things. And when he scores, it's just the cherry on top of a Leafs game.
Yeah, and what you were saying there about Holmberg driving and carrying the play and making sure that his line is in it every shift. That's something I've really noticed about all the guys they've called up forward-wise from the Marlies over the last little while. And it's not like these are high-end first-round picks that you're expecting a lot out of. Like Bobby McMahon, Pontus Holmberg, and Joey Anderson, they're all the same. Yes, they're trying to prove themselves when they're out there, but no matter what's going on, even if they've already scored, that when you might be able to hold off a little bit and kind of take a step back, they're not. Every shift out there, they're playing, they're giving it their all, and they're really able to force the play, which is what you need, like what Tampa got from a Paul or a Hagel, right? So it's very promising, very, very very nice to see, rather than someone come up from the minors, play 4, 5, 6 minutes and have almost no impact. Like Anderson was only out there for 4:57, but I did notice him a handful of times still.
And speaking of that, just to jump ahead a little, to end the second period, Joey Anderson played approximately 3.5 minutes, and he had an apple and 2 drawn penalties. So it just goes to show, like, for me anyways, Joey Anderson was all over the place tonight with the limited ice time he had. There has been other games where, not going to lie, like before Christmas, not the same kind of impact, but it's kind of obvious to me now, especially at this point in the season with how these guys are playing, that roster spots don't come easy, and it's the next guy up, the next hungriest dog. And this is exactly what we've been preaching since training camp, right? Like, it's like they listen to Leafs Late Night finally, and they're taking it to heart. I wish. Okay. But anyways, first period, not too much happening after that Pontus Holmberg goal. The Leafs had a too much man penalty, of course, too many buds on the ice, but they were able to stop the Rangers on the power plays. No power play goals tonight for the Rangers, limiting them to, I believe, 4 to 6 shots total, not too many chances. And yeah, the first period, I found that Matthews, Marner, few missed connections. I know they don't play as often, but it was clear they were trying. It was clear that they were trying to find each other and make those plays. And sometimes they all aren't going to connect.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how well you're playing or how often you've played with the guy. You're going to have games where nothing is going to go your way. No matter how hard you try, no matter how many opportunities you get, how many giveaways the other team has, you're going to have those games. And we've said it a couple times again this year, when you can show that even if you're not at the top of your game, you can hang around in the game long enough to come back and salvage a point or even a victory. That's the little things that, our team has probably been without for quite a while, maybe longer than they should have been.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really nice to see, like, we're still going to have stinkers. We still gave up, 2 points to Montreal last Saturday. That sucks. But
yeah,
at the same time, maybe it helps ensure that Bedard stays out of our division. So,
right.
Yeah, I agree with you. They definitely didn't look themselves tonight. Even really last game, it was mainly the Nylander line, right?
Yes.
So it's going to happen. It's a minor slump, but like Marty always says, I'd rather slump in January, February than in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I'd rather have someone show up than nobody at all. And last game, Nylander and Tavares just absolutely dominated, especially with a 6-point period. The game prior to that, it was the Poppy show, right? He just absolutely took the game into his own hands. And this is when we're talking about the bottom 6 and the D coming through, when our top 6 cannot get anything connecting, going. This is the times where we're being real picky, guys, okay? Because playoff time, it's go time. And to start the second period, Austin Selke Matthews, second overall in the league for forwards and blocks. Holy fucking shit, first of all. And second of all, it's unfortunate because the next face-off, right off, Heedle's stick goes in. I don't know if this puck even touched the ice off the face-off. It didn't even look like it. It looked like he just whipped his stick and it went straight into the net. They said they haven't seen anything like this since Gretzky doing it in the 1981 or something. I haven't seen it since I played NHL 2004.
Yeah. It's definitely something you see almost never in the NHL. I've actually done something like that in ball hockey, and I had something like that done to me in ball hockey when I was in net. It's definitely very embarrassing when that happens to you, but good on him and the wherewithal to notice the fact that Kampf was so set and focused on that face-off draw. He didn't even notice that Heedle switched his hand around, because they slowed it down on the broadcast to show it. And it's really, when they catch things like that, it's really nice. And it's a good change from their normal narrative of trying to bash everybody. It was really subtle and really neat to just see him kind of recognize that and go, oh, okay, you're not paying attention. You're so focused on that draw. Well, let's just throw it right on net. And it worked out for him. Even Nylander was praising him after the game, which, yet again, another great sound clip there. Nylander's always good for a couple, so.
Yeah, definitely. Got to give him props. Even though he's not a bud, got to give him props on that goal. So, but the next one, Leafs are trying to get the puck out of the zone, and they thought they were turning the puck the other way, but the Rangers keep it alive and make a quick play that goes from Kako to Laffy Dipsy Doodles around Hall going down on one knee, and Gio's also around Hall.
Yep.
Hall. Fuck.
Sorry.
I thought I had something in my throat or something. Yeah, no, I know. Okay. Justin Hall, let's not hate too much, because he has been pretty decent. Okay. And this play, Gio was eating shit. He was flopping. He didn't have his man on the one-timer, and it goes, of course, right past Samsonov. Who do we blame here? It's not even like who do we blame, but was this one of the, I don't know, someone looking the other way and something happened too quickly, or what really happened here to you?
This was all five of them as a unit. I know they didn't, but it seems like they had about 98 different chances to clear the puck and get it out of the zone. And they still couldn't do it. I'm always going to, as bad as it sounds, I'm almost always going to pick on Hall, because no matter what he does, he seems to be glaringly right in the middle of every mess up. Like Bunting had it right out in front of the net, couldn't clear it. Marner had a couple whacks at it, couldn't clear it. Gio chased his guy way out to the point, couldn't clear it, and then Heedle came in behind him. It's a comedy of errors for the whole 5-man unit.
Yeah. I do want to note, though, Morgan Rielly, a lot of hate on him, especially being on the ice for 5 of 5 and 5 goals. Tonight he was a +1, and also the ice time leader, 28-15. The second behind that was 23-10. I know I kind of went a little off topic. I saw that and I was like, what? I was surprised. I guess, feeding that point now, Morgan Rielly taking that shot from the point. Also, I noticed, thank you, Morgan Rielly. You're really making my dreams come true. 87.8 mile per hour shot on the next power play opportunity. But hey, back to Hall for one sec. I'm going to give him a break here. Okay. Just things are looking good. I mean, Connor Timmins made a couple mistakes the last few games that led to goals. So we'll just let this one slide because we won the game. Okay.
I get it. And I know in the past I've been overly critical of Hall, and I even called myself on it earlier this season when he was playing really, really well. When everybody was out of the lineup, he stepped up in a big way, and he had a stretch of games where he played really well, the best we've ever seen him play in the NHL. But maybe it's just me. Maybe other people aren't seeing it this way. But I feel like every game, he does at least one, if not multiple, bonehead moves. What are you doing? And last year, he was always in the crease on top of Campbell for some reason. He was basically preventing Campbell from making the save, which just was mind-boggling. But he doesn't really do anything massive or to counteract it, right? At least Timmins, you notice Timmins offensively. When he is in the offensive end, he can create chemistry with the guys. Doesn't matter who he's out there. He can pass it around, zoom around the ice. It's very, very rare anymore for Hall to do that and not have a glaring giveaway.
Yeah. No.
Call me, like anybody that's listening, call me out if you want, because maybe I'm missing something here, but I could be completely anti-Hall biased.
You're not wrong, right? Like the eye test a lot of this time tells us these things, and especially when the camera zooms in on it, you're kind of you can't not smell the shit if it's right in your face. But no, credit to Hall lately. I know we all make mistakes. We're human. And just to touch on Connor Timmins for one sec, heard a rumor that the Leafs are interested in extending him. It's good to note that he's played more games than Victor Mete, Jordy Ben. So far, that's listed on the lineup tonight. There's a rotation, but 19 games, 12 points so far on the season for Connor Timmins. Kind of what the Leafs need, because even after the Timothy Liljegren goal in the third period, I saw the stat, they're 29th in the league among defenders scoring on the team. So This is a problemo for me anyway.
Yeah, it's a stat that definitely looks really bad, but then you factor in the fact that at one point did they not have their top 4 defensemen out at the same time? Like, they've lost a lot of man games to injury just on the back end alone. And that's not even really factoring in Muzzin, who, for all intents and purposes, is probably never going to play again.
Yeah. Aww.
Like,
so
but,
sad.
you can always try to find a silver lining to everything. And that this year has been Timmins and then Lily and Sandin stepping up massively. Liljegren is showing why in his draft year he was being touted as, potentially number 2 or number 3 overall pick. He was talked about being a very, very high pick that year and ended up catching mono, and he missed a massive chunk of the season, so he dropped to the Leafs, thank God.
Yeah, totally agree. This kid has been the ultimate, success story for development processes. Even in Leaf games, guys, this guy roofs the puck over the glass and says, "I'm so sorry, everyone," and gets a goal in return. Lily, he's just always up in the play. He's finding loose pucks like he did on this goal, and he's able to bury it. Like, he leans into his shots. He has his defense partners back at all times, just like the previous game when Gio ate shit and he was right there to help him out. It happens all the time. And Liljegren, I'm at a loss for words. He's just one of the better defenders on our team, and it leads me to this question. Sorry, this question that I'm looking for. Okay, Zapper at VI Blue and White. So sorry, guys. The second part of his question says, the first part, has Liljegren surpassed Riley as the Leafs' top D-man? That's a loaded question. That's heavy.
It is. I would say not as of yet. Like, there's definitely the potential there that at some point he could be the best defenseman on the Leafs, and I would love it if that's the case. Even if he just ends up being a very, very good top 4, that's still a win. Riley's getting a lot of flack, not near as much as Hall, but he does a lot of things that are very underappreciated in this market. And he would be, especially at the price tag he's at, he would be scooped up in a heartbeat if he became available. There is 31 other teams in this league that would love to have him on their roster.
Hell yeah. Just like how I scooped him up in one of our fantasy leagues after one person decided to drop during injury. And I know I mentioned this before on the pod, but it reminds me of this every single time, because the name alone, right, on this elite team that's getting power play points, scoring opportunities. I know he hasn't broken the ice yet, but just the core he plays around, and he is a part of this core. There's so much hate for Morgan Riley. Sometimes the eye test, you understand it, but honestly, longest tenured Bud, the value that he brings to this team, he almost played 30 minutes tonight. he's irreplaceable from the roster alone. I mean, Gio has the experience. He's won a Norris. I don't want to discredit him whatsoever. I love Gio. I love everyone on this roster. Okay, obviously I'm a homer, but Riley is our man.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And like, where are you going to, despite whether you think he plays well or he has a lot of bad games or however you think of his play, how are you replacing those minutes? Because you don't want Jordy Ben to come in and play 28 minutes. You don't want Victor Mete to come in and play 28 minutes. Like, as much as I was just talking up Connor Timmins, I don't think he's ready to be playing 28 minutes on a regular basis in an NHL game.
Yeah.
Like,
and for everyone at home yelling at you, Bean, sorry to cut you off, they're saying, they did it when he was on LTIR. How did they do it then? Talk to those folks.
For a shortened period of time, you don't want a 39, 40-year-old Mark Giordano playing those minutes for an entire 82-game season. Like, anybody can be Superman for a short period of time, right? I'm one to talk because I was just bashing Hall, and I'm sure there's people out there defending him. And I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying anybody else is right or wrong. But he provides so much to this team, and he doesn't get the respect for it. And those are valuable minutes that you cannot just replace on a whim. You can't.
So would you argue that Timothy Liljegren is number 2 on the team in the defense core? Where would you put him?
Actively on the roster, like playing right now, 100% he's number 2. As much as I love Gio, I don't want to disrespect him. Yeah. With how they've all been playing, he's been playing like our number 1 for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Even
Definitely.
when Riley's back in, he has been playing like our number 1. Everyone healthy, I'd probably put him right there with Brody as a number 2.
Yeah, the slight offensive edge that Timothy Liljegren brings, I would place him just past Brody, even considering the experience that Brody brings, from being Gio's former partner when he won the Norris Trophy. And, Gio is so valuable as well, but you do have to factor in the age. Much appreciation for what he did. Don't get me wrong. Thank you, Gio. Love ya. So glad you're a Leaf, man. But
we're not bashing Gio, guys. We love him. We're not bashing him. We're just trying to look at it realistically.
It's a tough question. Lily is young. He may look like he's 40, but he's young. And he's doing it for us. And one thing I have to note, too, on this goal that is so important, Nylander, 400 career points, getting that secondary apple. JT with the first. 8th fastest in Leaf history to reach 400 points, alongside, so many other milestones this year. Matthews Marner hitting 500. JT's coming up on his 1,000th game on Sunday. So it's just been a year of celebration, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, Tavares had his 400th goal this year as well.
Yeah, love it. But yeah, this goal does not decide the game. It does decide that we are going into overtime. And Samsonov was absolutely amazing in this game. I do have to give him credit. 931 tonight. Made some epic saves when the time was right. And Matthews was super close. JT right off the post as the horn sounds, almost ending the game right there and then. But lo and behold, we start overtime. We have Kampf, Lily, and Marner on the ice. And Marner just doesn't waste no time, right? Takes it right into his own hands. Kampf looking for the change to get Matthews on the ice. Matthews is not even needed. Marner waits, enters the zone, goes around Shesterkin, and sneaks it right past his toe. Oh my God, this was disgusting.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I wonder what the mindset would have been, like the thoughts going through Marner's head for that, because so many times in 3-on-3 overtime, you see the team win the face-off. If they can't go in right away, they'll circle back in their own zone And they'll even circle back maybe 2-3 times before trying to go back in. And so we've seen it a couple times already. Matthews or Tavares or someone will be in the zone, and then they'll turn around and go back out, right? The possession is so valuable in overtime that they don't want to give that up. So you see Marner come in, and as he's coming in, Kampf goes off for the change to get Matthews on. Marner cuts over to the sidewall, and 98% of the time that you see overtime, he would curl back, either drop it to Matthews or entirely leave the zone to try to come back in for a better opportunity. And he just says, nope, fuck it, I'm going in, and dangles everybody and just buries a highlight reel goal.
Like the times you're, excuse me, watching OT and you have this perfect play drawn up in your mind and you're like, I bet he can fit through these 3 players because he's elite, dangle, do his thing and score. So easy. Finally, like it just happened before my eyes. Like a dream came true. This guy did not hesitate and finally just went and took the shot. Took some notes from William Nylander and his OT winner when he did that last. And that leads me to a next question. SC Morgan on Twitter asks, who did it better, Willie Stiles or Magic Marner with their 1-on-3 OT winners?
Unfortunately, I'm going to have to say Marner for this one. He added the little Bobby Orr flair diving through the air for the finish, and he really had to stretch out and tuck it, like overextend himself to have the puck out past the net almost at the goal line and then tuck it back in behind Shesterkin as he's falling. It was just absolutely beautiful.
Oh, beauty. Honestly, it's so hard to, how do you pick, right? Both take the puck into their own hands. They end the game without even looking around. Usually Marner's looking for that next pass, but no, this time he kind of saw the open ice and thought, I'm going to fit right there, and just did it. And, kudos to both because they both won the game. And yeah, I don't know, hard for me to pick anyway. But just moving on, Nick at ITR Nick asks, why is Samsonov not the starter? And then Mike at Mike the Fanatic, how do you not keep playing Samsonov at this point? He's the clear-cut number 1 goalie. I know Murray needs to play some games, but I would 100% come back with Sammy again on Friday.
Well, Nick, he has been the starter for the last couple games. So, but no, all joking aside, we briefly talked about it. I feel like I say this before I say everything last episode, that when you have keepers like this, you can go and just do a tandem, like ride the hot hand. There's no reason to overplay any one guy, because as much as I love Sammy, and as much as I have grown to love Murray with his time with the Leafs, and they've both had amazing stretches this year, they're not Shesterkin. They're not Vasilevsky. They're not that top tier goalie that's going to be in the running for Vezina every single game or every single season. So if you know you don't have that, be open and honest with them. Tell them, look, we're going to do a timeshare. If one of you gets hot, we'll run with you. But aside from that, we're going to keep you both fresh. We're going to keep you both busy and try to put ourselves in the best possible position to have team success at the end of the day. Which, when you have 2 guys that are trying to prove themselves, 2 guys that have battled injuries off and on, I can't think of a better scenario for either of them.
Yeah, this is honestly, especially at this time in the season, All-Star break is coming up. I think Murray can take a little extra rest and do what he has to do. And you're absolutely right, Biehner. Ride the hot hand. I mean, first we handed the L to Hellebuck, who's an All-Star goalie, 974 for Sammy. Sorokin, 939. Shesterkin, 931. Back to the torch and top tendies convo. Like, this guy is clearly in the conversation because now he's undefeated in regulation at home, still 14-0-1, leading the NHL at least top, I think, 2 in goals against average. And I don't know, he's on the charts, and it's clear that he deserves the start. I mean, we're all smiling, and it's so nice to get the points right before All-Star week, right? Like how we predicted, you might lose a couple after the break, and these are cup contending teams as well. So it feels even better because you may see these teams in the playoffs.
Yeah, and like this week alone, he has played against 3 goalies who on any given season are going to be in contention for the Vezina. Like if it wasn't for the fact that Allmark is using a cheat code this year, Sorokin, Shesterkin, and Hellebuck could be your final 3 for Vezina voting. And he's been right there with him. Like you said, he's second in the NHL right now for goals against average. He's got a 16-4-2 record in 22 games played. Like that is great for this time of year.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh my God. Even Shesterkin, right? He was 4-1-0 against the Leafs before tonight. Sammy, thankfully putting him in the L category, making it 4-2-0. 199 GAA against Toronto. Man, like the Rangers aren't an easy team to play against. There are American twinsies, right? So, yeah. Good game tonight. So happy to see the Leafs bounce back, especially after being down in the second period. Coming back in the third, getting the win in OT after PTSD first half of the season, just nightmares of OT, right? We didn't even want to think of OT happening, but our core finally showing us that, hey, they can take the game in their own hands if they just put their mind to it. Belief and take the shot.
Yeah, it just took them, a quarter of a season to figure out how to do it.
Right. Okay, so one thing I do want to mention before we leave tonight is that there was a tweet that was it came up again. It was from 2016, and it's related to the whole tanking discussion and Gary Bettman saying, like you said earlier, Bean, it's absolutely impossible since we have a drafted lottery. It's weighted, la 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 la. Well, guess what, bud? Guess what the Leafs did in 2016? Let me read you this lineup from February 20th, 2016, before the Matthews and the core, Matthews and company days. So the first line, Komarov, Kadri, Holland. Second line, Greening, Arcobello, and Parentu. Third line, Mattia, Spalling, and Winnick. Fourth line, Clune, Froze, and Boys. And then we have Levo. That year, Komarov went to the All-Star game, and Parentu scored 20. Do you remember those days, Biehner?
I do. Aside from Kadri, the only, I guess Riley as well, but Komarov was my man just because he did a little bit of everything and he was a pest. I absolutely loved watching Uncle Leo out there. For everybody that complains every time the Leafs have one loss or one bad shift or something like that, what would you rather? Would you rather go back to that roster? Absolutely not. Yes, it sucks with the first round exits that we have had, but we are witnessing history. We are witnessing one of, if not the best eras in this team's storied history, and it's one of the oldest franchises in the sport. You gotta sometimes step back and look at it that way. Yeah, it sucks. It's very, very disappointing. But this is what you want your roster to be. This is what you want your team to give you excitement, to give you hope that you could legitimately win any game you're in.
Yeah. All those Nylander haters from back in the day. I know I definitely had my fair share of things to say, and especially about any player, right? We're armchair GMs at the end of the day. Our eyes are the only things that's telling us what's going on. We don't know what's going on in the locker room or practice, etc. But we're so fortunate. And even when Matthews, this is just an interesting point I saw online as well. When people were talking about his slump, Matthews isn't scoring, is he even going to make 50, blah, blah, blah. he was still on pace for like 38 goals. It's pretty, it's pretty good when people are complaining about your elite scorer and they're still on pace for that amount of goals a year. Like, that just shows you alone that how elite, I don't know, what's another good word? Elite. This guy is phenomenal.
He's generational. When, like,
yes,
you go back, it wasn't that long ago that Jamie Benn led the league in points.
Oh my God, remember that?
Right? Like, you could go back even, you had Iginla, Kovalchuk, and Rick Nash share the Rocket Richard Trophy at 41 or 42 goals.
Wow.
Like, the 38 goal pace in the early 2000s, that would have been close to leading the league. Like, the guy is a talent like people haven't seen in the league in forever. And that's with Crosby, right? Like, yes, Ovechkin has been probably the best goal scorer the NHL has seen.
Yeah.
Potentially all time. But people aren't even really considering, like, taking that into consideration because Ovechkin's had this consistency. But so has Matthews. Even with his injuries, he has been consistent his entire career. Even when people are thinking he's playing like garbage or playing bad, not only is he still right at his normal numbers, because last year was an exceptional year. You don't see 60 goals many times anymore. So that's not going to be the new normal as much as we'd love it to be. And he does have the talent for that to happen. But he has even come out and said that he's taken, a little bit off because he doesn't really care about individual success anymore. He wants to win. He wants to have that team success. And if it costs, him being a 50 or 60 goal scorer again, instead he's going to score 38 or 40, I'm all for it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's clear when people make these statements, it's kind of like, tell me you didn't watch the game without telling me you didn't watch the game. Like, if you did score a goal sort of thing, it's kind of like the only thing that matters to some fans, it seems. But it's okay. Like, we won't judge you. We're just saying, like, there's proof and facts behind our statements. But anyway, honest answer being, who do you think is actually tanking this season in the NHL, and who actually has the best odds to do so?
Well, we'll see a better and a more accurate, let's say, view of that come trade deadline to see who moves who. But Chicago got a head start on it, man. Dealing away Kirby Dach and Alex DeBrincat. Like, it's not like they dealt them away because they thought they were bad players.
Yeah.
That's a really rough team, but it's gonna be a dogfight between them and Vancouver and Columbus. As much as they don't deserve the good karma because of what they have done this season to Bruce Boudreau, I almost want to see Bedard go there because he grew up a Vancouver fan. Like, that would be the equivalent of McDavid have been able to be drafted by the Leafs, right? Like, some of those stories would just be too good not to have them happen. So part of me almost wants that to happen, except Vancouver fans are insufferable when their team is good. So maybe I don't necessarily want it to happen that bad.
I saw on the Ducks Instagram account, who was it? Mark Messier or someone who used to play for them, took a piece of tape and tagged Connor Bedard in a post saying, your spot is waiting for you, sort of thing, with the Ducks franchise, and wrote his name in a stall in the change room. So I know a lot of people are rooting for that, but we'll see, right? We'll see. So much can happen. I mean, the Blues went January, the bottom, all the way to the top in April. Like, who freaking knows at the end of the day? And yeah, speaking of record, Boston is the fastest team in NHL history to reach 80 points. It took them 47 games. So definitely good to get the 2 points tonight, especially against another New York-based team. And looking for our way towards the top and hopefully gain some home ice advantage. I know you said it really doesn't matter, but Biehner, Sammy is undefeated on home ice so far in regulation, so I think it does matter.
Every arena is home ice arena for the Leafs because you go into any arena on the road and the chants "Go Leafs Go" are almost louder than they are in Scotiabank Arena. So yes, there's other factors of you're at home, you're not in a hotel, it's a rink you play in all the time, so you're more familiar with it. But in the grand scheme of things, there might even be some benefits to being on the road, maybe have less distractions.
Fair. I just want to let you know one little thing I found out about the All-Star Week that I thought you might find interesting is that Luongo will be a celebrity goalie for the Breakaway Challenge. Did you know that?
I did. Yeah, I did hear that. I really hope they kind of go all out for the comedy factor and try to factor in a bathroom break or something in there from, playing off his incident in Vancouver.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious, actually. Before we sign off tonight, I just want to give a little quick shout out to our captain for his 8 shots on goal tonight. Woo! Thank you very much. Lucky to have you in fantasy. Any last closing remarks, words, comments, well wishes?
I just wanted to touch on the first trade of trade deadline season.
Ooh.
San Jose Sharks have traded Matt Nieto and Ryan Merkley to the Colorado Avalanche for defenseman Martin Kaut and for forward Martin Kaut and defenseman Jacob McDonald. Wow. So for those who don't know, this is Nieto's second stint with the Avalanche. And then Merkley hasn't really been able to take off as much as maybe everybody thought he would when he was drafted. Drafted 21st overall in the 2018 NHL entry draft, and he's still coming into his own. Only 22 years old, but still coming into his own. So San Jose gets the ball rolling early, and it did not involve Timo Meier.
Wow. Yeah, I was surprised to see Nieto's name, especially when you look into the stats and, coming into the league 2013, being with the Sharks until 16, and he goes to the Avs from 2016 to 2020, back to the Sharks till 23, and now he's going back to Colorado. So I hope he still has his house there or whatever his living arrangement is, because hey, it all worked out at the end of the day if he had some psychic power there. But yeah, looking forward to more news. Oh my God, this trade announcement gets me excited because it just means that more is coming.
Yep, no, absolutely. And it's going to be an interesting year, but, considering there's no problems to talk about in the NHL, like I can't see how trade deadline's going to be an issue when half the leagues in LTIR and at least a quarter of the league has no projected cap space. So,
yeah.
But we're talking about an issue that doesn't exist.
Yeah. So unfortunate. And yes, until next time, the Leafs play on Friday against the Ottawa Senators at home. Friday is also the downtown meetup for Twitter peeps or whoever wants to come at the Bottom Line TO. We have Curtis from Alberta joining us, and Holly from the UK is in town. And then we have one more game to end the week, Washington Sunday. 4-game week. So we'll be back. I will be downtown. I don't know if you guys will do an epi or not, but we'll be back on Sunday. If not, I am free. So yeah. Check out InsideTheRink.com for all your pre- and post-game articles. We have merch. We have awesome writers. We have an Instagram. We have, everything. Just follow us. Give us some love. And we will love you back because we love chatting with y'all. And until next time, see you next time. Oh my God. Sorry.
There goes the soundboard.
Hey, Marty. And, yeah, I see the problem, Johnny. How many people does it take to end the show? Clearly more than me. Sorry.